YugiNoNo.
Alright, Yu-Gi Bro Bros, today I have a top 10 countdown for you. But really quick, I am giving away one of my custom MetaMats cloth play mats, so if you want to enter in the giveaway, then comment on the thumbnail to this video on my Facebook page, and the winner will be announced Tuesday, August 8th. And I will announce the winner of the giveaway in the video that I do that day. On a side note, you guys comment some crazy funny stuff. Great bearded guy in the sky, please hear my cry. Deliver this mat with an almighty dick slap, and with these words you take your holy form in this fight. YugiNoNo, I summon thee. But on the real side, I would love that mat, bro. I would have loved to pick that comment to win, but I don't pick favorites. I choose the mat winners at random. Also, be sure to check out my line of mats in the description below because mat purchases go to support the channel, and be sure to subscribe because there will be many more mat giveaways in the future. But this is going to be a countdown of the top 10 best and most powerful Yu-Gi-Oh spell cards of all time. In this countdown, I'm going to be going over generic spells that can be played in any Yu-Gi-Oh deck except for one spell card on the countdown that is really only useful in Pendulum decks. And since we are counting down the most powerful spells, it is a given that a lot of these spells are banned in advanced formats for competitive play. I'm sorry guys, we just can't have nice things because they are already broken when we get them. Also, I am not including archetype specific cards because although cards like Spellbook of Judgment are extremely powerful, we don't want D-Ruler format non-flashbacks. And I really just wanted to limit this list to more iconic Yu-Gi-Oh cards that we all know and love. Starting off with number 10, Change of Heart. Change of Heart was one of the original Power 5 in Yu-Gi-Oh, otherwise known as one of the original 5 spell cards first put on the limited list. Yes, back then it was just known as the limited list because nothing was banned, and now it seems like everything is banned. I wouldn't be surprised if I got banned. Wait a minute, what the hell? Okay, so what Change of Heart does is it takes control of an opponent's monster until the end phase, with no stipulations on what you could do with it. Unlike Mind Control that is legal for advanced play, but says that the monster that you take cannot attack or be tributed. And since it is a normal spell card, it's harder to stop than Snatch Steal, for example. This card is just leaps and bounds better than these other cards, and that is why it has been banned for what feels like forever. Now let's see how powerful it is these days.
Konami North America, this is Stephanie.
Hey, apparently I'm banned now, but I was hoping you guys would have a change of heart.
Don't call here again.
At number 9, we have Graceful Charity. This is because this card lets you draw 3 cards and discard 2, which is insane. You get to dig through your deck and basically pick your hand. You can also maximize the effectiveness of this card by playing cards that you want to discard. Like back in GOAT format, you can discard Sinister Serpent, which will come right back to your hand, or Night Assailant that recycles flip effect monsters. And of course, these days, Graceful Charity would be ridiculous in a deck like Burning Abyss.
Activate Graceful Charity? Discard Graph, discard Seer?
I hate him. At the number 8 spot, we have Mystical Space Typhoon. The reason that MST is on the list is because it has been the main spell trap card destruction card of choice ever since it came out way back in Magic Ruler. It is a simple 1-for-1 quick play spell, but being able to clear out your opponent's back row to make way for attacks is always good.
Activate Mystical Space Typhoon? I got your Mirror Force.
Try not to kill him today. Although this card has now finally been power cracked by cards like Twin Twisters and Cosmic Cyclone, I just had to put it on the list simply because of how long this card has been played in the game. But as great as MST is, it is not as powerful as the number 7 spot, Heavy Storm. Heavy Storm destroys all spells and traps on the field. It also apparently predicted Simu. This card was combined with many different OTKs in the past for quick wins, and of course it completely demolished trap heavy decks.
I see you have 5 back row over there. I'm gonna activate Heavy Storm.
Which made this card extremely powerful and a staple in every single Yu-Gi-Oh deck. Although Heavy Storm did create a good aspect within the game, conservative play. Since Heavy Storm was a card that everyone played, no one wanted to overcommit spells and traps to the board for fear of losing everything. This card and Dark Hole also led to some innovation in the game because players started playing Starlight Road to get a free Stardust and be able to save their cards. For number 6, we have Cold Wave. This card is pretty self-explanatory based just on its card text. This card can only be activated at the start of main phase 1 until your next turn. You and your opponent cannot play or set any spell or trap cards. Going first and activating this card was devastating for your opponent because back when the game was slower, all your opponent could really do at that point was just set or summon a monster. And it is an even more devastating card these days because almost all good decks depend heavily on spells. This card will probably be banned for a long time to come. For the number 5 spot, since we are in the middle of the countdown, I wanted to add a more modern ban card on here just to prove the point that Konami could still print some pretty busted crap. So the card that I chose is Wavering Eye. Eyes. Wavering Eyes can be used in any Pendulum deck and was literally in every Pendulum deck, and even in some cases non-Pendulum decks. The card was just that good. This card influenced an entire format and not in a good way.
Activate Wavering Eyes, destroy all Pendulum scales on the field, search another Wavering Eyes, banish your monster, search a Joker, and give you 500 points of damage.
At the number 4 spot, we have Pot of Greed.
But what does it do? Ow!
This card is at the number 4 spot because it is literally the best draw card that we have ever had in the game, and it was in the original Power 5 that I mentioned earlier with Change of Heart. It lets you draw 2 cards. It's a +1. That's it. And getting to the 1 card that you need through this card, as well as getting that free +1 advantage, is what makes it so good. Alright, we made it to the top 3, so let's kick it off with something really broken. Harpy's Feather Duster. You can just think of this card as a more powerful Heavy Storm, because it only destroys all spells and traps your opponent controls, not you. So this card is very, very unfair, although what is interesting is in the OCG, this card is legal, which is crazy to think about because of how broken this card is viewed to be. Even though spells and traps in Yu-Gi-Oh! Have gotten smarter and can activate in the graveyard, which is what makes MST obsolete, you still have to admit that this card is very powerful. And I miss playing this card as much as the next guy, but it needs to stay banned. Now, oddly enough, the number 2 spot on our countdown is legal in the TCG, but not in the OCG. And that card, of course, is Raigeki. This card has been feared in Yu-Gi-Oh! Ever since it first came out in Legend of Blue Eyes. And it is so feared because it has a very simple yet very powerful effect. Destroy all monsters your opponent controls. This card is still played to this very day. If your opponent's monsters don't have effects that trigger in the graveyard, Raigeki is literally the last thing that they want to see.
That's a nice field you got there. Would be a shame if something happened to it.
Now, before I get to the number 1 spot, let's go over some honorable mentions. Starting with Giant Trunade. This card is very similar to Heavy Storm and Harpy's Feather Duster, but returns spells and traps to the hand instead of destroying them. Next is Premature Burial. This equip spell lets you special summon a monster from the graveyard by paying 800 life points. Then there's Delinquent Duo, and I had several different discard cards to pick from, but I just chose Duo because of how iconic it is in GOAT format. This card is part of the Trinity in GOAT format, along with Graceful Charity and Pot of Greed, and makes your opponent lose 2 cards from their hand. And last of the honorable mentions is Super Poly. This card lets you fuse from both sides of the field, and cards and effects cannot be activated in response to this card's activation. Yep, you heard that right. This card is banned for a reason, guys. Now, for the number 1 spot, I had to give it to the most iconic spell card in all of Yu-Gi-Oh! That card, of course, is Monster Reborn. This card is legendary in the game and in the anime, letting you special summon a monster from either player's graveyard, which is so dirty. Even when the game first started, it was dirty.
Activate Monster Reborn, special summon your summon skull from your graveyard and attack directly. That's it, I'm kicking your ass. Ah!
I am pretty sure that this card was used by every character in the original anime, even Merrick to summon out the Winged Dragon of Ra itself. This card is pretty much immune to power creep, as special summoning a monster from the graveyard will always be good. But most importantly, you guys, it is a spell card that we all know and love. And that's gonna do it for this countdown, guys. I really hope that you enjoyed it. Be sure to let me know what your favorite spell cards are down in the comment section. And also go ahead and let me know what countdowns you want me to do next. The most popular countdowns will get made into videos. Like maybe next I could do a top 10 of the most powerful monster cards or the most powerful trap cards, or even synchro, Xyz, or fusion monsters. The only thing I will say is that I can't really do a countdown on Link monsters yet because we don't have enough of them, but of course in the future that will change and I might end up making a video on them. Or I could count down just some of my favorite cards in Yu-Gi-Oh! Like for example, one of my favorite spell cards of all time is Instant Fusion, and I really wanted to put it in this countdown, but I just didn't feel like Instant Fusion was nearly as broken as some of the other cards on this countdown, or as legendary as some of the other cards on this countdown. So I just didn't feel right putting it in there, although I might do a favorite spell cards list later, and on that list will be Upstart Goblin and so many other great cards in the game. And I actually have a wide variety of favorite cards in Yu-Gi-Oh! Because I don't base my favorites just on usability. A lot of my favorite cards are based off of artwork and just nostalgia. I love Toon so much, like Toon World is probably my favorite card of all time, right up there with Relinquished and Toon Summon Skull and basically everything else that Pegasus has played. I just love the way that Toons look, even though that they've never really been that great of a deck. I've tried to break the deck way more times than I'm proud of. But I guess we all have that one deck that we try to break, no matter how bad it is. We just love it. So yeah, be sure to just comment below and let me know what videos you want me to make. And this style of video does take a long time to edit in comparison to my normal talks that I do in front of the card wall. So if you really liked what you saw in this video and want to support the channel, the best ways to support the channel are either through my Patreon or by PayPal donations, or even by buying a mat from my mat line on metamats.com. The links to all those once again are down in the description. And once again, speaking of mats, if if you guys want to enter in to win a free match graciously given to me by my sponsor, MetaMats.com, then just like I said earlier, go ahead and hit up the Facebook page and comment on the thumbnail to this video. But that covers everything, and that is gonna do it for this video, guys. I can't wait to see your comments down below, and as always, be sure to dick slap that like button and subscribe.
Subscribe.